أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. Last week we started talking about zakat, and I mentioned we have many points. Subhanallah, as I was sitting down, a few other points came to my head, and these are very frequent questions. So inshallah, the reason why I've chosen to speak about zakat is Ramadan, not too long from now. These questions usually come during Ramadan, and this is when people are already stuck. They need to pay their zakat, and these questions are unanswered. And people struggle to work out, how do I pay my zakat? To whom do I pay my zakat? How much zakat do I pay? So inshallah, last week we went through the anwa', yani the people, the beneficiaries of zakat. So I'll quickly go through that briefly again. Once again, if I haven't mentioned, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, innama sadaqat, there's two types of sadaqah. There's sadaqah wajiba, sadaqah nafila. Sadaqah wajiba is the one which is mandatory, nafila is the one which is not mandatory. So the one you've given today when the brothers came around with buckets in front of you, this is sadaqah nafila. Sadaqah nafila can literally be given to anyone. However, sadaqah wajiba, depending on which one it is, has to be distributed to certain groups only. And from that, we have something called zakat. Zakat literally means, my brothers, to clean. This is why when an animal is being slaughtered, you also call it zakat, because you clean the animal by slaughtering it. All the bad blood comes out through the jugular vein. So moving on, inshallah, we spoke about innama sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin wal amilin alayha. Let me quickly go through this again. Yani the anwa' al mustahiqin, the beneficiaries. There's the sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin, the faqir and the miskin. Slight difference. The faqir doesn't have enough even for today, and the miskin has just enough just to survive for today. Innama sadaqatu lil fuqara'i wal masakin wal amilin alayha, and the one who does the work of charity. وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ, and even to the disbelievers, to to soften their hearts and bring them closer to Islam. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, and to free slave. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and in the path of Allah. In the path of Allah here is very clear, jihad fi sabilillah. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ, and for the musafir. So inshallah, I might have missed one or two actually in this verse as I was reciting. I'll go through them properly today. So last week I mentioned yatim and faqir. Yatim and faqir, like I said, there's a very slight difference between them. Now, you might not see yatim and, sorry, what am I saying? Faqir and miskin, forgive me. Faqir and miskin, there's a very slight difference between the two. You might not see any faqir and miskin in this country, although there are many. When you work for a charity, you come across many people who, even in the UK, who are actually eligible for zakat, right? But when you go to your home countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Africa, India, these places, even Iraq and other Middle Eastern countries, you'll see tons of people who are eligible for zakat. So yes, you can give those people zakat. Some people choose to go through a charity. So if a charity comes knocking on your door and says, look, we're raising money for Palestine, for the fuqara and the masakin of Palestine or Afghanistan or Africa or Bangladesh for the flood appeal, and you want to give zakat towards that, then it's fine. You can do that also. However, the ulama say, and this is something that they have backing from hadith, that you should firstly give it to your own people, And I would actually encourage this, to be honest with you. Your zakat, my nasiha to the brothers, inshallah, is that maybe give zakat to your home country first, the people in your neighbors and your relatives back in Bangladesh, Africa, India, Pakistan. Give it to your relatives first, and maybe put one portion away to give to charities, so it could go to Palestine and Afghanistan and other different parts of the world, inshallah. But yes, you can give it to whosoever you want. There's a dispute between the scholars. So Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah says that every single person or every single type from the categories which have been mentioned needs to be given zakat. So if you have 25 or 30 pounds of zakat to give, they need to make sure that every single person from this category, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم, everyone should get something from this. However, other schools of thought, like Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, say no, even if you decide to give it to just one from all of them, then this is fine. And this is just a dispute among scholars. The main objective is the zakat needs to leave your property, meaning it cannot be yours anymore. You need to give it away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How much zakat does a person actually give? So you will calculate your money, and from all the money that you have, you will give 2.5% of your wealth in zakat. How is this money calculated? So there's a term in Sharia known as hawlanul hawl. Hawlanul hawl means a complete year, right? Let me explain to you. Say today is, for example, the 1st of Ramadan. Yeah, just an example. Today is the 1st of Ramadan. And today in my life, first time in my life, I got my first wage. This is my first money that I have, right? And my manager gave me £1,000, for example. Now, do I give zakat on this? The answer is no, right? There's a condition, there's a shart, which is hawlanul hawl, a whole year has to pass. Now, next year on the 1st of Ramadan, I will give zakat, okay? Even this has many conditions. Now, next year on the 1st of Ramadan, I'm not going to have £1,000, am I? Right? I might have £10,000. I might have £20,000. I might have £50,000, right? So do I still only give 2.5% of that £1,000? Because that's the only thing that I've had for a whole year. The answer is no. Throughout the year, your money is going to go up and down. But when you come to your anniversary date, which is, say, for instance, the 1st of Ramadan, however much money you have on this day, you will give zakat on this, right? So if throughout the year your money went down from 1,000, then it went up to 50,000, then you had some bad times, and then it came back down to 10,000, then it went back up to 100,000, then it came back, and then on your anniversary day, it was how much? It was 20,000. You will give zakat for 20,000. What if myself, I've got £1,000 today, and then I had a really good year, and literally tomorrow is the 1st of Ramadan, and all of a sudden, wal'iyadhu billah, I'm empty. Something happened and I've lost all my money. I had to pay some debts off, or I had to pay someone off for something, right? Or I got a fine, which meant I had to pay £50,000, for example, right? And I started off with £1,000. What happens to me then? Then this person doesn't have to pay zakat. Number one, he doesn't have anything to pay zakat with. Now, what if it's 5 days before Ramadan? I'm going with the 1st of Ramadan because it's just easier to understand. 5 days before Ramadan, 5 days before the 1st of Ramadan, I went back down to zero, completely to zero, right? And then once again, on the 1st of Ramadan, all of a sudden someone gives me £10,000, even if it was hadiyah. Let's just say this brother Hajji here, he feels very generous and he says, brother, I like you so much, Imam Sahib, here's £10,000, inshallah. Yeah. So here's £10,000, Imam Sahib, and this is the 1st of Ramadan. Do I have to pay zakat on this £10,000? The answer is no. The answer is no. I'll tell you why. There's a difference between going down and going up and going to zero. If you go to complete zero, then your anniversary date has been changed now. It will restart when you get your next first £1,000, for instance. Does this make sense? So there's a difference between the two situations. One is today I have £1,000 first of Ramadan. Next year, Ramadan, first of Ramadan, I have £10,000. But I've never gone down to zero. Never. Right? So I'll have to give zakat on £10,000. But say in between, in the year, I went down to zero, my anniversary date has completely changed now. When I say anniversary date, I mean zakat anniversary date. It will restart again on the day I get my first £1,000 again. Does that make sense? Inshallah. Any questions you can ask me, inshallah, no problem. Okay, then people try to do something a bit clever, try to be a bit smart. So I've got my two children with me now, and they think, okay, you know, tomorrow's zakat day. So I'll put all my money onto my kids' name, because there's no zakat on children. Okay, so now when a person does this, what is the ruling? Is there zakat on children? Yes, there is, and no, there isn't. But it comes with a condition. If I give my children £10,000 now and say, kids, look, this is a gift from daddy for you. And then afterwards, one day I'm going through a tough time and I think, okay, I want my £10,000 back and I'm just going to take it. No, you can't do that. If you give it to them, right, and you have no access to this money, and this money has nothing to do with you, then based on this condition, you will not give zakat, and they won't give zakat until they reach the age of puberty. However, right, if I have access to this money, I'm just putting it into a different account, but when I need it, I know I'll take it whenever I need to. Qasim, I need some money, I'm just going to take it from your account. I mean, I need some money, I'm taking it from your account. Then for this, I will have to pay zakat. Why? Because I might have put it under their name, but it's still my money. Right? Sometimes people try being clever. So what they'll do is, tomorrow's my zakat day. So I'll go to Hafiz bin Yamin and say, Hafiz bin Yamin, how are you? Okay, you're a very good friend of mine. So I've got £20,000 in my account. And you know what? I'll give you £20,000 hadiah, gift today. Because tomorrow's my zakat due day. I know this. He might know this. And I'm like, I'm giving you £20,000 zakat, gift, hadiah, not zakat, gift. Right? So tomorrow's day passes. And something like on Sunday, and I go to Binyamin and I say, Binyamin, oh yeah, remember I gave you that £20,000. Could you give that back to me? Do you understand what this person is doing? So he's basically gone to zero the day before zakat, yeah, and then he's getting it back a day after his anniversary. He's trying to play games with Allah. But do you know what I say? Say, who are you playing games with? You're playing games with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's look into the life of the Banu Israel. Did they not play games with Allah? What did they do? Allah said, don't go fishing on Saturdays. Subhanallah, these people love fish, that they still went fishing. They didn't go fishing on Saturday. They left the fishing nets there on a Friday. And on Saturday, they said, we're going to collect the fishing nets. And what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns them into pigs and monkeys. Billah. So don't try playing games with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And uqsimu billah, wallahi al-azim, I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that no one has ever become poor by giving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't forget, Allah is the one who's giving you this wealth, giving me this wealth. If you give in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase, right? Another thing that I need to mention, inshallah, how mortgage. Now someone says, oh brother, I'm in debt, do I need to give zakat? So now, brothers and sisters who are listening also, inshallah, if you're in debt, then you don't need to pay zakat, but that depends on the debt. This is something which needs to be studied. If it's a long-term debt, like a person's got a mortgage, for example, right? This mortgage could be 20, 30, 40 years. Then no, you are not excused from zakat. You still have to pay zakat. And it doesn't even have to be a mortgage. Mortgage is haram anyway, as we know, right? Even if it's not a mortgage, even if I go to Brother Sharif, and Brother Sharif, mashallah, Mabarik, is a very wealthy man, and he says to me, Akhi, I'll give you £500,000. I'm lending you £500,000. So I borrow £500,000 from Brother Sharif, and I'm maqrood now, yani duyun. I have debts on me. Do I still pay zakat? The answer is yes, you still pay zakat. You will minus the amount that you pay Brother Sharif every month. And other than that, then you continue to pay zakat, right? Yeah. Can zakat money be paid early? This is another question. So my zakat due date is 25th of Ramadan. Can I pay it now, akhi? Or do I have to pay it on that day? Some ulama say you have to pay on the day. You work out on the day. On the day, and they do qiyasan ala salah wa ala al-hajj wa ala al-sawm. Like they say, look, all the fara'id, it comes with the time. Salah, you can't pray before it's time. Hajj, you can't do it. If I go now and start doing Hajj and say, yeah, I've done my Hajj, I'll come back, everyone call me Hajji Sab. It's not going to work, is it? There's specific time for it. So Salah has its time. Hajj has its time. Ramadan fast has its time, right? If I give before, will it count? The answer is no, according to many scholars. Other scholars say, no, it's absolutely fine. You can pay zakat early. However, when it's your due date, what happens? What if the zakat, the amount that you were meant to pay is more than what you've paid? So I should have paid £50, but I paid £25, and I didn't realize that I'm going to have an extra £1,000 in my account on this day. Then I pay that extra. What I didn't pay earlier, I pay that extra. What if I paid extra before? Can I go to someone and say, okay, yeah, look, I paid you extra zakat. Can you give me that £25 back now? The answer is no. You've given it, but this will go down as sadaqah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept it from you. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Okay, quick point, inshallah. وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا, the person who does the work of charity, can you give zakat money to him? Now, during the time of Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, when the Khulafa al-Rashidun ruled, alhamdulillah, when we had the Sharia law, the Amirul Mu'mineen would appoint certain people who would say, our Maulana Sahib here, and our Hajji Sahib here, and our brother Sharif here, and our brother Abdul Hakim here, you guys, your task is to go and collect zakat from people, right? And he will pay them a wage, and that wage would come out from zakat money. Can this be applied today? Many scholars say no, because the condition of Amirul Mu'mineen and Sharia, we do not have it today. Others say no, look, the verse in the Quran is very generic. وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا. Where did you get all of these shurut from? So based on this, many people do say that if there is a charity and the charity does decide to pay from the zakat money to the workers, then this is absolutely permissible. However, I can tell you, I'm not going to say for sure, but from what I know, majority of the charities do not pay their workers, the UK charities anyway, do not pay their workers from the zakat money. Moving on, then you'll have in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions wa fi sabilillah. Now, many scholars, well, I wouldn't even say from the early scholars, this is more of a recent thing. Say fi sabilillah could be anything. You can give zakat to anything. You can even give it to a masjid. You can give it to a person who's got a da'wah stall. You can give it to a madrasa, to an institute, to a maktab. Anything Islamic happening, even to da'wah programs, you can give zakat money to. But others, majority of scholars are against it. Say, look, over here when Allah says fi sabilillah, to understand some verses of the Quran, we look at other verses of the Quran. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about fi sabilillah in the Quran, it's very simple what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to. He's referring to qital, jihad fi sabilillah. And you'll see that all the many mufassirin have said that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says giving zakat fi sabilillah, he's referring to jihad. And in some mufassirin, only a few say you can give it to the haji, as in a person who's going for hajj. Now, what does this mean? For us to understand this, we need to go 50 years back. 50 years back, when people would travel from Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, Africa, on foot, or by horse, on donkeys, and they would go for hajj. And on the way, the provisions and everything that they have would have finished. So what would happen? People would come out and say, look, we've got a zakat pot, and from this we can give this person some zakat money, and he can use this to continue with his safar. Only a few group of ulama said this, but majority of ulama say when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says wa fi sabilillah, over here he is referring to jihad wa qital fi sabilillah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتنا ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين المستضعفين المظلومين في كل مكان وفي كل زمان يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم بنصرتك وأيدهم بتأييدك وارفع بهم رأيتك وحرر بهم قدسك الكريم اللهم عليك باليهود المعتدين الظالمين المفسدين ومن والاهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم زلزل الأرض تحت أقدامهم. اللهم اجعل كيدهم في نحورهم. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من شرورهم. اللهم لا ترفع لهم راية ولا تحقق لهم غاية واجعلهم للعالمين آية. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون، فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. جزاكم الله خير.